Please watch to the end. Comment and respond to other people's comments.
Yeah, Patrick, in that part of Kentucky I'm actually quite familiar with, about 45 minutes south of Louisville. And jail records there in Kentucky suggest Theodore Edgecombe was stopped in a traffic stop, and that's what led to his capture. He was wanted here, as you mentioned, for a deadly confrontation on the road. Captured in Kentucky. The new mugshot for Theodore Edgecombe shows the time passed since we first learned his name. In court records, police and prosecutors identified Edgecombe as the suspect in a deadly confrontation on the Holton Bridge in September. That's where Angie Cleereman claims she had to swerve to avoid hitting a man on a bike. She yelled, "What the heck?" and claims when she got to a stoplight, the man on the bike asked if they were talking to him. And according to the records, Cleereman told police her husband Jason, who was the passenger, responded yes, and the man on the bike punched him. Prosecutors write Cleereman admitted her husband told her to follow the man to another street and pull over, and Jason got out. Seconds later, the man on the bike, according to Cleereman, shot Jason in the head, killing him.
She watched her husband be killed, and that is not going to go away for her. And so that's a memory that unfortunately she has to add to her 26 years with Jason.
At the time, police only had video footage of the man on the bike, but police used their own bike expert to identify the bike and other video to track the man to a home. According to prosecutors, a landlord and Edgecombe's relatives identified him as the man in the images. But Edgecombe was already gone, avoiding capture until 12:42 Thursday morning in Hardin County, Kentucky, some 400 miles away. That's where court records show state police stopped Edgecombe on suspicion of speeding and discovered he was a wanted man.
Derek, when someone wanted in a local crime is arrested in another state, there's the issue of extradition. Do we know when a hearing might take place?
Oh, well, Patrick, I spoke to a jail official who was actually in the room for the initial hearing. Theodore Edgecombe plans to waive his extradition, but he still has a misdemeanor case with that speeding case there in Kentucky that could wrap up relatively quickly. Once it does, that means Theodore Edgecombe is headed right back here to Wisconsin right away to face that homicide charge.
Right now at 5, the state's first full day of testimony has wrapped up in the alleged road rage trial of Theodore Edgecombe. He's accused of shooting and killing immigration attorney Jason Cleereman near Holton and Brady Streets back in 2020. Our Stephanie Haynes was in court today. She joins us live with the details. Stephanie.
Carol, the state called a number of witnesses to the stand today, including people who saw what happened that night. And on cross-examination, defense attorneys really pressed them about what exactly it was they saw. On Thursday, attorneys finished up their questions for a Milwaukee police detective. He testified he received the surveillance videos he says shows Theodore Edgecombe punch Jason Cleereman in his car and shows the shooting on the Holton Street Bridge. Next, Rodtrell Cameron took the stand. He testified he was driving behind the Cleeremans that night on Brady Street and testified he saw Edgecombe punch through the window. He says he followed the Cleeremans' car and he saw Jason Cleereman get out and go towards Edgecombe.
Pulls the gun and then shoots the guy in the head.
So a guy gets in a boxing stance and the biker does what?
Pulls the gun and shoots the guy in the head.
Just pulls it up and shoots.
Yep.
What happens next?
Then the guy hesitated. He didn't know necessarily what to do.
Defense attorneys on cross-examination questioned Cameron about Edgecombe's demeanor.
Would you consider the vehicle coming at Mr. Edgecombe violently?
Yeah.
Did it appear that Mr. Edgecombe was afraid at the time he jumped the curb to get on the sidewalk?
Yeah, because he fell.
Did it appear that Mr. Edgecombe was afraid when he continued on onto the sidewalk?
Yes.
Did it appear that Mr. Edgecombe was afraid when he turned right to try to escape the exact direction of Mr. and Mrs. Cleereman?
Yes.
Another witness testified he was on his work break that night when he saw the encounter on the bridge. Both witnesses say they called 911.
We seen like the car pull over by a bicycle, and the guy got out of the car, approached the bicycle. The bicycle guy kind of hopped over the railing to go on the other side, and I was going to hear a pop.
To be clear, Rodtrell Cameron was wearing orange because he was arrested for an issue about complying with his subpoena. Meantime, for the rest of the afternoon, the state called a couple of Milwaukee police officers, and the last witness on the stand for the day was Dr. Kelly from the medical examiner's office. The state will pick it right back up tomorrow morning, and we will be here to tell you more. For now, live in Milwaukee, Stephanie Haynes, TMJ4 News.
Continue our breaking news coverage. Just moments ago, a jury found Theodore Edgecombe guilty of killing Jason Cleereman. Let's go straight to Tom Durian, who is in downtown after hearing that verdict. Tom.
Yeah, Shannon, just across the street from the public safety building, the verdict there, first-degree reckless homicide. Theodore Edgecombe found guilty of that. Really, the lesser charges that he faced really didn't matter after that first big charge, and he was found guilty. The verdict was read in the courtroom just a few moments ago, kind of a difference from the norm. The judge actually read the verdict himself rather than having the jury foreperson read the verdict, but they did go and poll the jury after that and found that that was indeed their verdict. So again, Theodore Edgecombe found guilty of first-degree reckless homicide in the death of attorney Jason Cleereman back in September of 2020. That happened on the Brady-Holton Street Bridge in that area. We all know now there was an altercation on the street. The vehicle that Cleereman was in turned the corner. He got out, and during this case, the defense here said this was all a matter of self-defense for Theodore Edgecombe, that he fired his gun after this man lunged at him, Mr. Cleereman. However, yesterday when he was on the stand himself, there was a lot of back and forth about the gun accidentally going off. That was Edgecombe's testimony in this case, that the gun accidentally went off, and that brought up a lot of questions about the self-defense here, and obviously the jury went ahead and found him guilty of first-degree reckless homicide. Our Stephanie Haynes is inside the courtroom. We're waiting to get more information from her and hear more from her about the reaction in the courtroom. Not only are there people in there that are looking at this from both sides, there are several groups that have been following this case and advocating for Theodore Edgecombe, that he did this in self-defense. So we'll wait to hear from everybody as the courtroom starts to clear out. We'll get over to Stephanie Haynes, but that's the latest now live from outside the public safety building in downtown. We'll send it back to you, Shannon.
A man convicted of killing a Milwaukee attorney in 2020 will spend 25 years in prison. Stephanie Haynes was in the courtroom as Theodore Edgecombe learned his sentence.
Evangelina Cleereman sat before a judge Friday, describing the immense pain from losing her husband, Jason.
My life and our children's lives were forever destroyed and altered on September 22nd, 2020. As physically close as I was to Jason when he was shot, I never had the opportunity to say goodbye.
Edgecombe claimed he shot Jason Cleereman in self-defense, but the jury found him guilty. Family and friends of both Jason Cleereman and Theodore Edgecombe wrote to the judge, and some spoke out, pleading for justice or pleading for mercy. Edgecombe's defense attorney read his statement, saying he never intended to kill Jason Cleereman.
I ask that the Cleereman family find it in their hearts one day to forgive me. I also would like to express my apologies to my family for the mistakes that I have made. To your honor and the court, I would ask that you have some mercy upon me.
After hearing it all, Judge David Borowski handed Edgecombe a sentence of 25 years initial confinement and 12 years of extended supervision.
As Mr. Cleereman came at you, pulled the gun up, pointed it at him, and killed him. You shot him right here, almost right between the eyes. That is not an accident, as you testified. It's not. That's not the gun just going off. That's completely incredible.
The judge also brought up the city's rising homicide rates and noted that at the time of the shooting, Edgecombe had other pending cases in which he was not allowed to have a gun.
People have no impulse control in this community. And Mr. Edgecombe, had you not been violating the law and the order to not have a gun, then worst case scenario, this goes down as a fist fight.
In Milwaukee, Stephanie Haynes, TMJ4 News.